Be interesting.
I asked Rick to set in just on from the assessor's
Yeah,
office.
he came down yesterday, so I showed him the reports and explained.
Good,
Dan.
thank you. Yep.
He and Reva and I discussed it.
There's Dan the man.
Hey, Dan?
High noon.
High noon. Okay, everyone. We will call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. We're going to start with a pledge and a prayer. I've asked Troy to lead us in the pledge, and Vicki, our chaplain, will lead us in prayer.
Our resident chaplain.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to meet in a land and country that is free, that we can gather and conduct our business and worship. And we have so many churches to attend, dear Lord. We thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. We thank you for this year of new beginnings. We just pray for those who need healing and lift it up, dear Lord, and you know their needs. And we trust that you will address them and let us be witnesses to you as well. And dear Lord, we thank you for this governing body. We pray that you give us the strength and the knowledge to handle the people's business as you see fit. And all these things we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Okay. Let the record show that all council members are present and here. The only item on our agenda today is the 1782 notice for the budget year 2026. The 1782 notice, it's kind of the final step in the budget process where the state DLGF certifies and reviews our approved budget that we approved last fall. Typically, it's kind of a routine step, but this year we kind of got caught off guard with how the rate came in on the 1782 notice, so we thought it'd be a good idea to call a meeting and discuss it a little bit. Linda, is there anything you want to add or introduce?
No, we do have Tyler here from Reedy Financial Group. They are the financial advisors for the county. Tyler has done 4 different scenarios, and I will just let him take over and explain all those to the council.
Okay. Yeah, everyone should have received by email these 4 different scenarios, options that we've got to look at. And I did ask Tyler too to maybe step up and just kind of go over those briefly and maybe explain a little bit how we got here with the rate. So, welcome, Tyler.
Hello, everybody. So I'll just go through kind of the structure of one page. They're all structured the same way so that we're 100% know what we're looking at. But so right now I'm looking at the no adjustment to the 1782 notice. And then after this, I'll kind of explain why we're seeing the tax rates we're seeing. But you'll notice the funds are on the very left. These are the funds that receive property tax revenue dollars. It's not every fund, operational fund that the county has. So, but it's the only ones impacted by property tax revenue. The 1782 notice numbers are just to the right of that. So that's what based off the gateway submission from the county that Linda worked on, this is what the DLGF has sent back in the 1782 notice to the county. The county can make adjustments to those numbers under what the county submitted in Gateway. The second 2 columns to the right of that are where, in this one there's no adjustments, but in the other pages you'll see different scenarios to where you can adjust those and see how it impacts the tax rate number. If you look at the $25 million number at the bottom of those, the $25,480,000, that is the max property tax levy revenue that you could take. So as you'll see in the following pages, to reduce the rate, you have to reduce that levy, and you'll see that number go down. So the third 2 columns is the surplus deficit, and these are just my projections within your financial plan of, on this specific page, the general fund, it shows $2.5 million positive. that means you'll have $2.5 million more in revenue than expenses. And that also includes estimated budget that you will not spend. So I include that in the calculation as well.
So that does include that estimate where they only spend roughly,
Yeah.
whatever, 90% of the budget or whatever
Correct,
that number?
yeah.
Okay.
And that's just
Okay.
based off historical numbers.
Okay. That was a question I had, so thanks.
Yeah. And then finally, of the 2026 estimated cash balance at year end, and then what the cash reserve percentage would be with that number. So the county cash reserve policy is 35%. So as you'll be able to see, especially the EMS fund and the future adjustments here on the other pages, I get that to 35%. So before I go on, so the reason you're seeing a higher property tax rate is, at least since Reedy's been working with Morgan County, your assessed value growth has really shot up high, and now in 2026, it's plateauing. So you've qualified for growth appeals the last 3 years, which is due to the increase in assessed value. Well, now in 2026, it was like under 1% what it grew. And the assessed value, it's a formula. Your tax rate is a formula. It's tied to your assessed value. So the growth quotient was 4%, but your assessed value was under 1%. Your tax rate has to go up in order to meet the same revenue demand. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So that is the main reason you are seeing that property tax rate increase.
Is it fair to say, so if we would have known this back when we were going through the budget process, that the AV value was going to plateau?
Correct.
We probably would have set our budgets lower because the estimated revenue you would have put in there was probably lower, correct?
Yeah, so when we're working on the budget in the fall, we don't know the assessed value yet, which makes it tricky. We wouldn't have projected that the county would be under 1%, but in saying that, in future budgets, we can make the tax rate a focal point, and we can have, if it grows at 5%, this is what we estimate it to be. If it grows at 3%, if it doesn't grow, we can do that and kind of show you the numbers in future budgets moving forward. But yes, you are correct. In the budget meetings, we're looking at, the amount of levy that you're allotted compared to your budget and what the surplus deficit is. We're not looking, at least we haven't looked at, okay, if we level the tax rate out, here's what it's going to look like.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it, when we're going through the budget process, that's when we're kind of strictly focusing on, how much are the departments going to spend? How much are the expenses going to be? That's where we try and really get laser focused. The revenue side, we have to rely on estimates because we don't have all the figures in yet, and that's why there's sometimes a mismatch, and that's what's happened, I think, now.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, this is mainly due to the assessed value growth in 2026 being so much lower than previous years.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And that shift is due to changes in SEA1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you maybe talk a little bit about how
Yeah.
SEA one's affected assessed
Yeah,
values and how
so-
it will going forward?
So SEA 1, which was signed into law in 2025, it gradually increases the supplemental deduction on homesteads and 2% properties until 2031. So it gradually increases that percentage up to 66% in 2031. So if you think about high dollar homes, currently, you get a homestead deduction, which is a fixed dollar amount, and then like a 35% on the rest of the assessed value. Well, if you increase that to 66%, that's a very large increase in deductions. And so when you increase deductions, it lowers your net assessed value and increases your tax rate. So moving forward, as that percentage increases, it's going to be harder to implement a level tax rate strategy.
But hopefully one that won't jump 5 cents
Yes,
like it
yeah,
did
and,
this year.
I know you guys have a data center that's going in. Economic development helps. The more you can increase your gross assessed value, the more that's going to lower the tax rate.
Could you maybe just go over, so,
Yeah.
we've used the existing rate, leaving it
Yep.
as is. Can you maybe go over the other extreme option
Yeah.
you presented, where we just leave the rate level, and maybe talk about what that would mean going
Yeah.
forward in terms of budget process?
So I'm on the level tax rate page. So 2025's tax rate was 44.53. So you'll notice in the adjustments column, the bottom tax rate is 44.53. And then you can see how that levy is $22.2 million compared to the 25.4. So basically, you're not taking the full allotted amount of property tax revenue that the county could receive in order to lower that rate. And then you can subsequently see in the surplus deficit how that affects each fund. And then obviously the cash reserve percentages. So you could implement this, but there's two things that I want to point out. So income tax revenue in 2027 will be based partially on the levy amount that you have in 2026, just part of the formula. So the lower amount of levy that you take in 26, it'll lessen the amount of income tax revenue that you get in 2027. In 2028, I think you all know, the lit changes after that. So, and then also, you see these deficits. The longer you keep the tax rate level, it's just, I think later on, you're just gonna have to increase it even more to catch up at some point. And it's just unfortunate with the assessed value, it made the tax rate increase quite a bit. So yeah, that's the problem with the level tax rate. You definitely could do that this year, but you're gonna lower your cash balances in all your funds, and especially your general fund at the top. That's your most important operational fund. That's where you pay the most people out of, and you wanna try to keep as much cash reserves in that fund as possible. So that's why I did have another scenario. It was the no deficit in the general fund. And I just increased the levy just enough to balance the general fund, but I kept the other funds pretty much the same. It kind of seemed like a middle ground for me, and I thought you guys might want to see that and the impact it had on the property tax rate. Are there any questions?
Any questions so far for Tyler? I think when I first got the news and I looked at the rate, I thought, well, we got to get that back down to a more level rate. But then you got to stop and consider, well, that just means we'll have to make, the budget cannot be the same what it was this year, because we're going to be, if we were to make the rate level to keep it the same as last year, we would spend down our cash balance to the point where, yeah, it looks fine for 2026. You still got cash reserves. But going forward, that is not sustainable. So we'd have to go to the departments next year and and just tell them, I mean, keep it flat, don't expect much of anything. So that kind of, it's kind of, there's just no easy solution in my mind. So now coming into it, I'm kind of thinking we need to compromise somewhere, but that, I don't know, we need to talk about as a group what everyone's thinking, but yeah, it's not a straightforward decision, I guess.
It is not.
Yeah, and I also know that the commissioners are gonna come to us and have talked about wanting to pay for the last project out of our funds as opposed to taking out another bond. So. The rainy day, yeah.
Which the rainy day has a very healthy balance right now.
It does.
Currently, yes, it
But
Now, Tyler, when you did
We
these
might need-
calculations, were you looking at,
It's going to lower that
because
dramatically.
we have 5 million in the general fund that we would be transferring to the rainy day fund.
No, so for 2026, this assumes nothing is transferred to the rainy day fund.
Say that again.
So this assumes in 2026 that, I think in the past couple of years, you guys have transferred money from the general fund to the rainy day fund. This assumes you do not transfer any money.
And
But I will say, in 2025, I don't have year-end ledgers yet, so I don't have all the revenues and all the expenses. But you guys did I think a $4 million transfer to the rainy day
We did a $4 million in '25.
in '25. I think you're going to spend a deficit in '25 because of that. You're still okay in a general fund. But yes, anyways, in '26, this assumes no transfer of dollars to the rainy day fund.
Any questions or comments, any thoughts, you guys?
It's just so sad because so many offices, they don't ask for a lot of bells and whistles. You know, they're just flatlining the way it is, and to go back and say, cut more?
I'm just worried about the highway department, you know what I mean? They already give up a bunch of money for roads and stuff like that last year, let alone all this.
Yeah, that's
Don't have to
another
be
thing.
flat.
I mean, not to go off on a tangent or anything, but yeah, highway revenues are becoming stagnant. So at what point do you have to move highway expenses to the general fund? You have a bunch of bridge projects you're planning. So I think you just have to be careful on, you know, taking under the max is fine, but I think it needs to be measured.
Is your compromised amount where we just keep the general fund, you know, to where it's solid? Is that a good
Yeah,
recommendation, would you say?
it doesn't hurt you that much. I mean, you still have over 50% cash reserve in general fund. And yeah, you're still healthy on cash reserves with that
I
option.
mean, the only one that's right on the borderline is EMS. That's the one.
EMS, yeah.
It's at 35%, so that one has no, no
Yeah.
extra in it.
Correct.
It's pretty tight.
Correct.
If you look at if you made no changes,
Right.
only stay at 24.
Yeah, I did increase, yeah. So in my adjustment to the EMS fund, the 1782 had a lower levy amount going into the EMS fund, but I increased it to get to the 35% because of the county policy.
And we cannot transfer, we can't move anything for EMS to the general fund. Is that correct?
I think you could, if you have anything in the EMS fund that benefits the county as a whole, you could probably do that.
What's an example of that?
I don't know if you have any positions that kind of share between the general fund and EMS, or, yeah, we'd have to look through the list of items and see if there's anything that's, is it all just related to EMS, or is it EMS and the rest of the county?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Creative.
yeah. And what's kind of,
What's on speed dial?
what's kind of confusing is the EMS actually is based off a different assessed value than the general fund. It's lower. So any levy that you push to the EMS fund increases your rate even more than if it was in the general fund. So $1 million in levy in general fund compared to $1 million in EMS, the property tax rate in the EMS fund will be higher based off that $1 million.
I mean, and obviously the reason we're even worried about this is because that tax rate directly affects individual property tax owners, right? So they're going to notice this, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not gonna just be the county, it's gonna be statewide. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's some communities around Indy that are just growing like crazy or not gonna see this as much. But there's, a lot of the states gonna see these property tax rates increase, especially as we get to 2031. It's gonna happen everywhere.
Our units that have a lot of ag land are those are the ones that we saw decrease in the NAV. Ag land and residential.
I don't know, thoughts? What, anybody?
It's not fair.
Anyone want to,
What would be the downfall to the level tax, not the level, which one is it?
The no deficit,
Yeah, the no deficit. There it
I like that one.
I mean, that's the compromise.
is. That's the one you were, are you?
Yeah, that's the one I would probably lean towards too, personally. I mean, I'd love to keep the rate level, to be honest, just because as a taxpayer, I've seen my own property taxes skyrocket in the last 5 years. But I also know that people expect services, and these services are not getting any cheaper. Inflation was a real thing during COVID, so, I mean, we're just gonna shortchange ourselves if we try and keep it the same, is how I'm thinking.
Well, didn't you say next year, if we go with the level, that will be detrimental and like cutting our, if we.
Well, I think if you went with a level
make that
tax rate in '26, at some point, you're just gonna have to increase it even more instead of a
Fall further
gradual
and further behind.
increase. Yeah,
So this is maybe a way to kind of level that out
Yes.
as we move forward.
yeah.
So you're talking about 0.47 rate?
Yeah, so we're looking, yeah, the one we're considering is the .475 rate as what to adopt, or,
About 3 cents instead of 5.
yeah. I mean, it's still gonna make some people upset, but again, it's
Yeah, it's
a
gonna be
compromise of,
noticeable,
you're never gonna make everyone happy, and you still have a government to run, so.
I'd much rather have that looking that way than come next year if we went with, if something happens and.
Yeah,
Because then it'll be dramatic. It would have to be to offset.
is anyone ready to make a motion, or do we want to discuss it further, or I don't want to rush anybody?
Has any more questions, I would move to.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Crone. Yeah.
I second.
Second from Ms. Green. Any further comments or discussion? Anyone from the public want to chime in? Seeing none? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the proposed motions, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Very good, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Any final comments or anything? No?
Nope.
We appreciate.
Just reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah. You know,
Anytime.
Anyone, I called Tyler yesterday for about 20 minutes. Anytime you guys want to talk to him, he's very approachable and easy to talk to, and he can make it understandable, which is even better, so.
Yep. Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Tyler. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment, or, I know, Mr. Darnold, would you like to? You can come on up, Rick. I asked Rick if he had anything he'd like to say. Rick works in our assessor's office and is very familiar with how the assessed value works, so.
Yes, good afternoon. Rick Durnall. I'm the deputy assessor for the county. And several of you I have had the opportunity to talk to up in the office or outside of the building, and we appreciate that. If any of you have questions about how assessed value works, I'd like to say that nobody in my office is surprised by this turn of events. Between the Schiffler case versus Marion County affecting the cap rates, Senate Enrolled Act 1 with the different deductions, and I don't know when else to say this, but when you look around the county, a lot of the high-growth areas are in TIF districts, which keeps that gross assessed value or net assessed value from hitting what can be used for taxes. So just something to keep in mind going forward. There's a great debate about new growth assessed value from construction versus reassessment. The point of trending values to market value was not ever intended to generate new tax revenue, and that's from the DLGF. That's gotten muddied in the last several years. But, I mean, that's neither here nor there, but I do want to just extend an open invitation. Anybody has questions, would like to discuss assessed values, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30, or I live 5 blocks from here, catch me at home.
That's to the public too, right?
Yes, the public too.
You've got a lovely home, I might take you up on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
When the public comes in, when they get their tax statements and they head to your office, do they seem to understand once you explain it to them, or do they still leave mad?
That's a little loaded.
You
No,
know-
a lot of people do understand. And those are the good conversations that we enjoy having. Some people come in and all tax bill. And, I mean, and sometimes we're all with them. We all live here. I mean, my tax bill is 117% higher than it was 5 years ago. And there are some people that you can't help to step back from the ledge, so.
Well, I view us as oftentimes the firing squad. And sometimes when we put it out there, that it's not us doing it, it's the state forcing it down on the counties. And sometimes people understand a little better. You're never going to make them happy, regardless how low you could go. But I think a lot of times it's education and why things are the way they are. It's not always your county or your townships that make these changes, but the higher ups. And I hate it when we get these mandates that aren't funded, coming from the state. The county's got to do this, but we're not giving you any money to do it with. But anyway.
And I will very briefly, because I know it's lunchtime, I'll point out that there have been some studies, and Indiana has consistently been ranked in, I believe, in the top 5 to 8 states as far as having efficient assessing procedures. The assessor's offices statewide tend to follow the market pretty closely. You could make an argument if that's good or bad for the taxpayer, but the guidelines that we're given by the DLGF, we're following very closely. And we're proud to be one of the, I believe, 13 counties in Indiana that handles our reassessment totally in-house. So I know as a taxpayer, if I had a question about my assessed value, I would rather come in and talk to people that are doing the job, that live in this county, not outsourcing to a third party. So, sorry, a little sales pitch there.
No. Any other comments or questions before Rick sits down? No? Thank you, Rick. Your comments about TIF are very helpful, and I appreciate that. And I think it's worth repeating that the new data center is not in a TIF. And that will help our tax rates tremendously in 2 to 3 years, hopefully. So,
Thank you all.
thank you. Anything else for the good of the county?
I think the commissioners brought it up at their last meeting, but a lot of as part of this on this SEA 1 is a lot of grant money is being cut as well. So we're going to be looked at to fill those gaps.
Yeah, our job is not going to get any easier going forward.
So we got to, keep that on the table as well.
Absolutely. All right, well, before we, yes, Commissioner Adams, please come to the mic if you would. We're recording the video, if you can come to the mic. The whole county wants to hear the wisdom of Mr. Adams.
I just wanted to thank you for starters. And I was really threatening to pull the fire alarm so we would have our other commissioner here. But it's a tough job. And a lot of it rests upon you and of course, sure that we have understandation like my grandpa used to. And I appreciate all the work you're doing. And that's all I can just say is that commissioners are very, very grateful. Also, our cooperation. You do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I know we kind of get vilified sometimes, but we're all just residents, citizens here. We're taxpayers. None of us like higher tax bills, but at the same time, we're trying to do our job responsibly and make sure that the basic services can still function. So with that, go IU tonight, and we are adjourned.
Thank you. I'll make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
There we go. Thank you, guys.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Can't stop, can you?
Gotta get it all right.